Welcome to Alyvix. This is an operations tutorial dealing with text components, specifically with extracting text scraped from the screen and based on a regular expression. In this tutorial, we'll see how the text component detect options work with a regular expression that you provide to read text from one part of the user interface and then insert it later whenever needed. Within a text component, the detect option serves to recognize and store a particular span of text as a string. The regex mode allows you to match an expression that you define against the text seen in the region of interest. Here we'll look for a text string in a defined area, and then using a regular expression, we'll look for a code embedded within that text. We'll save that code in its test case object, and then create a second test case object to insert that text somewhere else. To see how it works, let's try a conceptual example using Notepad, where we'll look for a line containing a code, use a regular expression to isolate the code itself, and then later insert that code back into the same text editor. We'll start by launching Alyvix Editor. We can now capture the screen and select an anchor. With Notepad, its icon at the top left works well, so right-click on it. Now left-click to select the code within the text, and then resize the region of interest bounds to include the entire line. For the anchor, we can leave it as an image component. For the line of text, let's change it to a text component, which by default has the detect option. The mode field has regex set by default, so we only need to enter the regular expression that will match our code. Since our code is two numbers followed by two lowercase letters, we'll insert the appropriate regular expression here. To the right in the scrape field, you can see the original text that was recognized in our screen capture. Now in Selector, change the name of the test case object to readText and drag it into the scripting panel. For the second half, we can capture the screen again without making any changes. In a real-world case, the application you're retrieving text from may be different than the one you write it out to. Let's select the same anchor as before with a right-click. This is the only component we'll need in this example. We want to write the code we just read back into the text editor, so select the click action as usual. However, our code should appear in the text area of Notepad. It shouldn't be directed towards the icon at the top left. So next to the action drop-down, click on Set Point, and in the capture screen, click in the middle of Notepad's text box. This allows you to perform the action at a point other than the center of the selection itself. This will move the focus to the text box, but we still need to enter the code we pulled out earlier. The value in the string field is what Alyvix will enter when it runs. But we don't want to put a static string here, as that exact string would always be entered regardless of what text our prior test case object scraped. Instead, we need to insert a variable that corresponds to the text that was extracted from before. And in fact, this variable has the form you see here, where the first part corresponds to the name of the test case object that read the text in the first place, and the extract keyword says to just use that text as the value of the string field. It's important to note that the variable text we want to insert here does not exist until the named test case object has been processed, and the name must match exactly. Believe it or not, that's all we need to do with this second test case object. So go to Selector and rename it to Write Code. Then drag it to the scripting panel. When we run the script, it finds the code and types it into the space below our original line of text. But how do we know it really works? Well, let's remove the inserted code and change the original code. When we rerun the script, it in fact inserts the new code, demonstrating that it's not static. In this tutorial, we looked at how to scrape text from an interface Use a regular expression to extract a substring from that text, store it in one test case object, and then retrieve it for use in a different test case object that comes later. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us.